Oh, a happy Tuesday! Scott Cole, Nick Mizekso, live for the first time. Well, not in our history, but in the history of you and me. We might have some guests dropping by, join us a little bit later. I know it's Harris Rubens. Well, I call him Rubenstein. Either way, he gets upset. He's a big Boston guy. Maybe we'll talk to him a little bit about the Celtics and what the Red Sox have in store with the upcoming season. Nick, we're going to jump into some of this quarterback carousel. Deshaun Watson's going to be a big part of the stream. I'll have to put my serious face on for that. But how you been, bud?
Dude, spent the last couple days in Vegas, a little March Madness action. I know we probably aren't going to focus on it too much, but I feel like this was one of the craziest opening weekends of March Madness. You look at the Sweet 16, and I go, did we just pick random teams? Was this done by Betty in the office who picked teams by their favorite mascots?
What was your biggest surprise? I mean, for me, it's St. Peter's, because I picked Kentucky to win it all.
Yeah.
I had a lot of SEC teams moving forward in the bracket, and all I did was prove out to be a total idiot.
Well, I was surprised that Ohio State flamed out in the first weekend. They never do that. They've never done that before. But St. Mary's.
Wait, they were in the tournament?
Yeah, stop it. We got one win. We beat Sister Jean. Get out of here. But I mean, St. Mary's obviously. I think that a lot of those the two lines seemed incredibly weak this year. I mean, we saw Auburn go down. I think Baylor going down. I think a lot of people would say it's a surprise. I think Baylor had some fatal flaws going into the tournament that I think everybody, it was the top 3 seeds, and then Baylor was probably the 4th one. I just think it's crazy seeing the success of 10 seeds, 11 seeds, 8 seeds. I think it's a deep tournament, and I don't know if we saw that going in, how many good teams there were on that 8 to 11 line.
Well, we told you we'd feature questions from the chat.
Yeah.
Question number 1.
What? Like Lil Jon. What? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into some Deshaun Watson soon. I know, it's kind of perfectly aligned because my history with Deshaun Watson, with Clemson, was working there while they were doing making that championship run. I was hosting the Tiger pregame show. Almost said the tailgate show. I'm not that popular. That's like the next step up.
That's the next one. That
would have been the career graduation if
right.
I would have done with the Clemson football program. Would have been to step up to the tailgate show. So that's going to be. That's tough, right? Because our stars kind of come aligned here, and what we're talking about is this just. And I mean massive, massive new deal. And I think that's the big part of it. Let's go on the football field first. I think that's a good place to start, right? First of all, take everything else aside. If you're a Browns fan and you're just looking at the talent of what you had and now what you possibly have, you got to be stoked from a football perspective.
Yeah. I mean, just looking on the football field, you get a guy who, prior to last season, I think most people had in the top 5 to 7 range of quarterbacks. One of the top young quarterbacks out there, a great arm, an accurate arm. And by the way, spent most of his career in Houston where there wasn't a ton around him. He's throwing to Brandon Cooks a lot. If you're looking on the football field and for a franchise in the Cleveland Browns whose best quarterback in their history, no doubt was Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's the best quarterback they have ever had, and that is
really even higher than Kozar.
Well, of the new Browns,
all right.
The expansion. I
was about
Browns.
to throw Otto Graham.
Yeah,
out there, but okay.
but of the expansion Browns, I mean, you're talking it's either Baker Mayfield or the 1 year Derek Anderson went buck wild with Braylon Edwards. You've got your best quarterback ever. You also, on the football field, in terms of the deal, didn't have to give up any players to get him, which I think is something that is understated in this whole thing. And we're going to get to the other stuff in a bit. But the fact that they didn't have to give up Nick Chubb, they didn't have to give up Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, Greg Newsome, all names that were thrown out as that deal. The fact that you didn't have to give up any of those players, you keep the core around them. You've already brought in Amari Cooper. You still have the two-headed monster of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I mean, again, the offensive line, a little bit different. You lose J.C. Treader, but you're going to get Jack Conklin back. I mean, if you're a Browns fan on the field, like I am, you are as delusional as you were 2 years ago, which is this team's really good.
We got some familiar faces joining us. Welcome to the show. This is our first live show. We're going to try to be here every Tuesday at 2 o'clock Eastern time. And we're live everywhere. It's crazy. A couple Twitch channels, Facebook, YouTube. I'm even out there on LinkedIn somewhere. If you're watching out there, hope you're having a good one. And the 7 family members that are watching us on Facebook. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Mom.
But the crazy thing is there's got to be a little bit of part in you, because I know you, Nick. We've shared a lot of coffee cake, drizzled in butter. To know that
drowned, sir. There was not a drizzle on there.
If you look at the whole perspective, 22 allegations. That's what makes it tough for me, right? And I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm not saying he's innocent, but 22. Some part of it is like, this is coming to your team. This is going to be a cloud all season, no matter what happens. If he plays, if he doesn't play, and we can talk about the financials here in a minute, it goes away at least for a season. But if he does play, this is going to be something that grabs the headlines each and every week.
Yeah, Scott, I don't know if I've ever been as torn as a fan with this deal, because on one hand, as a football fan, I'm excited. As a football fan, I'm excited to see him on the field. As a human being, I'm not excited. As a football fan, I see what we gave up for him and the fact that we gave him the fully guaranteed money, and I go, Andrew Berry in the front office did what they had to do to get Deshaun Watson. Like, they were out of the running on Thursday, went back to him and said, we're going to give you exactly what you want, and got him. And I go, that's some great GM work. And then I see the response to everything that they put out, and I go, what are we doing? Like, the fact that they gave him $230 million guaranteed as a way to shield him from any possible action the league can take, anything like that. You know, they can sit there and say all they want. We did all of our research, but they only talked to Deshaun Watson. They didn't talk to the lawyers for these 22 defendants or these 22 plaintiffs. And at the end of the day, that means you didn't do your research and you sat there and you went, we're going to guarantee all this because we know there's a chance you're going to get suspended, because we know there's a chance that this is true. And then I go to the other side and they go, well, at the end of the day, they didn't bring charges against him. And I am perpetually on Twitter. The Browns Twitter obviously has gone kind of crazy with this, Scott. And you hear a lot of people going, well, I'm dropping my Browns fandom. I cannot root for somebody with this sort of criminal record. I can't do this. And I sit there and I go, you do realize our owner is an active embezzler and Kareem Hunt's on our team, right? Like, you do realize those are both still true as well. So I'm torn. I'm all over the place. And I think it's going to take some sort of resolution of the league's investigation to get any sort of clarity as to how I think the majority of Browns fans feel about this. This investigation has been going on for a year. Like, we need some sort of like clarity as to what the league is going to do and what these civil suits are going to turn out to be.
I mean, it's tough for me, right? because I've known Deshaun on a semi-professional, semi-personal level. Even post Clemson, we've done events together on this very Twitch network. I know his mom pretty well. This news, when it came out, coming up on a year ago now, shocking to me.
Wild. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, this is a Bill Cosby. I'm not ready to put anybody in that realm yet, but this is tough, right? I mean, it's like finding out some people that you really admire or root for, maybe is not all they're cracked up to be. The thing that concerns me is pick a quarterback that's just as talented and doesn't have any issues. With the Browns pay Josh Allen $230 guaranteed, because the thing is, you can go out in 2 days, you can go out in exhibition, you can go out in game one and have a career-ending ACL injury, and you lost 230. Or is your team? I'm just gonna put it out there. How desperate is this Cleveland team for any sort of success?
I mean, incredibly desperate. This is a team that has one playoff win since they came back into the league. This is a team that only has 2 playoff berths. It's a team that hasn't won a division title since 1988. It's a fan base that is hungry for wins. It is a ownership that is hungry to prove that they can bring the city wins. And I think there's a feeling in Cleveland that there's a window here. I mean, you've got prime Myles Garrett. You've got prime Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward's coming off his best season ever at cornerback in the NFL level. You've still got Nick Chubb in his prime, still healthy at the moment. I mean, you bring in Amari Cooper, a guy who's only 27 years old, 28 years old, and somebody who can play in that level. And I think that's where this deal comes from, is that it's a hunger and a thirst to take advantage of this. They had a great roster in 2020 and got 1 playoff win. 2021, they had an even better roster and went 7-9. And I think that the last year was the catalyst that made this all happen, is that they thought they had their guy in Baker, who led them to a playoff win. Yes, did he tear his labrum? 100%. Baker kept going out there, and this is where I get frustrated with Baker. Dog, you know you have a torn labrum, and you know you're not playing well. But you still went out there and told your coaches every week, put me out there. Some people label that as a competitor. I look at that as a detriment to the team. He had to sit there, and I don't know if it's on him or if it's on Stefanski. Both of them, it's a joke. Both of them, last year, somebody should have said, you're not good enough to play right now. You need to get healthy. We're paying Case Keenum the highest backup quarterback salary in the league.
Charlie Whitehurst numbers.
Bring him in. Yeah, dog. We run an offense that is turn around and give the ball to Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb 25 times a game. I can run that offense. Like, bring in Case Keenum. He only needs to throw the ball 18 times. And all of a sudden, maybe Odell's not as mad at that point because he's got a real quarterback thrown to him who doesn't have a shoulder that is literally all torn. Like, that's the part that frustrates me about last year, is that he tore it in week 3. After 5 weeks of him being bad, wasn't there somebody going like, maybe this is affecting him?
The $1 million for year one.
Mm-hmm.
And I GoatCon in the chat was talking about, he's already set out a year, but he set out a year under his own reasoning for not wanting to play with the Texans.
That was not an NFL punishment.
That was not commissioner's exemplis or anything like that. So, and they say they did extensive background search. Now that's they didn't talk to any of the accusers, first of all, that we do know. How do you feel about that, where they didn't talk to any of the accusers? They said they did a background check. They've given them $1 million a year for the first year. What does this tell you as far as what they may know is going to happen, that they're maybe going to lose them for the upcoming season? And do you believe that they went extensive on a background search where you talked to no one that was involved?
No, I mean, I went and talked to Jeffrey Dahmer, and he said he was cool, and everybody was nice, and he never did anything. Yeah, if you talk to the person who's accused of stuff, he's obviously going to deny it. Like, there's no way they went on an extensive thing. But at the end of the day, that wasn't their job. Here's the answer. Like, this is the part that, like, is tough to come to a realization as. For Andrew Berry, for the GMs, for the owners, their job is to win football games. That is their job, and their best move is to bring in Deshaun Watson. And their best move was not to go talk to the accusers, because at the end of the day, If they find something out and they go, he might have actually done this, they can't bring in the quarterback that they want to bring in because there's no justification. It's called plausible deniability, and that is what the Browns did. Is it despicable? 100%. And at the end of the day, there's no way that they did. There's a reason why they're keeping that salary at $1 million. There's a reason why they bring in Jacoby Brissett as the backup, because he's a capable backup that can lead them through this year. The part that does concern me from a football perspective, you give him $230 million guaranteed. This contract is a beast at this point. And by the way, you have Garrett, Chubb, Ward. I mean, a lot of Amari Cooper.
These lost some wide receivers, by the way.
We got Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones, our 2 wide receivers. Thank you so much. But like at the end of the day, like you've got Conklin on the O-line. You got these, I mean, not insignificant pieces that are going to need to be signed. It's not a bad team.
I mean, the AFC, you're still like number 12 or 13, but sure.
Right. We're third in the division, but we're better than Mitch Trubisky. But I do question what happens in 3 years. Like, if we lose Deshaun Watson this year, that means we've only gotten really 1 year of Watson. And if Watson, let's say they make the playoffs, or let's say they win the division, but they lose in the first round, we're still tied in for a couple years after that, and there's going to be pieces that have to get re-signed, and you start getting into people paying Super Bowl quarterbacks. But the thing is, the Browns didn't go win a Super Bowl. The Browns are still a 1 playoff win team, and we're paying top dollar, and that is what concerns me from a football perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to wait. I mean, Goat Khan in the chat said innocent until proven guilty. I still believe by that, even though we do not do that in real life. It's no. You're innocent once you're proven innocent. You're guilty until then. But 22.
Yeah.
That's the tough thing for me. And I'm a Clemson, Deshaun Watson former apologist. But even I right now are certainly – most people have distanced themselves from that situation. Yeah. Back to the football talk. 3 first-round picks. How you feel about that as a Brown supporter?
You did what you did to get the guy that you wanted.
3 first-round picks and $230 million. Can I throw that cash
value on there? It's a lot to give up. It's a lot to give up.
I mean, if he never plays it down, and I'm sure there's some fine print in there.
Yeah, I mean, so there's two parts, and it's the Matt Stafford trade to the Rams. It's a great deal if you win a Super Bowl, because guess what? That pick ends up being 32. You basically gave up a second-round pick. There's
Walter Bark, number 1 of the show. Everyone keep it in fact.
I think the 3 first-round picks to give up, and it's a lot. And I do 100% believe that the reason why this deal got made was because they were told they were out of the running for Watson, and literally an hour later, Baker Mayfield asked for a trade. And they went, we might not have a quarterback, and we have to put all the chips in the center. Are the Browns possibly playing with Jack 10 off suit? Yeah, they might not have aces in the pocket. But at the end of the day, if they didn't go out and get Watson and Baker Mayfield didn't want to be there, they've moved from Jack 10 off suit to 8 deuce off suit, and they're in a whole heap of trouble.
Well, I think this is a good transition. We'll circle back to that. If Harris joins us later on in the show, we'll see what he thinks about as sort of someone that really is a bystander, right? I got the Clemson bias. You got the Cleveland bias, which I think are both good things to discuss. Peter had a good comment out there saying, I think the Texans certainly need those 3 number 1 picks and then some down there. Yeah. I know a lot of folks in Houston are really upset, but let's transition. I think it's just the perfect transition to do to the guy that's supposed to be there, right? That's supposed to be, supposed to be the head man in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield, the mini college graduate from many different places, ends up going to Cleveland. All I know from Baker Mayfield in the NFL, Nick, is one simple statement. Hulu has live sports.
Yeah. Yeah, at home with Baker Mayfield, thanks to Progressive. Dude's the top commercial, man. I'm telling you, everybody talks about that, like, what is the Geico, the scoop, there it is. Like, how bad it is to see that commercial when your team is losing. Fun fact, every time I see a Baker Mayfield Progressive commercial when the Browns are down 38-14 to the Cardinals, I'm like, just stop. Baker, stop. Baker, stop. But listen, I'm a Baker fan.
Before you get started, we're quarterback musical chairs here. The seats are filling up. We'll get to all that's going on. But when we talk about best landing spot, if you had asked 48 hours ago, there was 8 teams. Now there's like 3.
Yeah, I think for Baker, of course, seeing especially I think the Colts. I know Baker was big. He really wanted to go to Indy. The Colts filling up their spot. I think that hurt them. I think there's one logical spot for Baker, and it's Seattle. You go to a team, you get a coach in Pete Carroll who knows how to work with quarterbacks. You get two great wide receivers in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They obviously have some holes to fill. They might have found a running back at the end of last year, by the way, with Rashad Penny. Like Penny,
yeah, saved my fantasy, and I know he ruined yours.
Dog, ruined my life, but that dude was a beast the last 4 games. And let's be clear, he didn't ruin my life. It was that I counted on Dalvin Cook to not be hurt at some point, and that was silly on my part. Obviously, Carolina is a choice. They just re-signed DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey possibly being shopped around. And then, of course, you got your Houstons, your Detroits. Like, I don't think Baker's going to want to go there. I think Seattle makes the most sense. Again, as a Browns fan, I am a Baker fan. The years that he has been good, he is good. The years he has been bad, he's been hurt. I think if he can stay healthy, he's a great locker room guy. The whole adult comment, by the way, from the Browns, we wanted an adult at quarterback, so we brought in Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
come on,
that's not it.
I like Baker. Baker was great for the city. I think he really did love playing in Cleveland. I think he put everything out on the field.
He's a personality, right? And
yeah, he's got
so
arm
is Johnny
talent.
Football. So to me, it's just a little bit more sane of a Johnny Football.
I don't know why you had to bring up Johnny Football. I don't even know who that is. I don't know. Johnny Unitas? Yeah, he was great. But I think I always hear Seattle fans, oh, Baker Mayfield. He's a good quarterback. He never really had a great wide receiving core. Let's be clear. Odell Beckham came in towards ACL in the first year. Jarvis Landry was hurt the second year. Odell was hurt the third year. He's never had a great wide receiving core. Give him a run game. Is he Russell Wilson? No, I think Russell Wilson is obviously a better quarterback than Baker. But is he better than the other options that are out there? I mean, who else is out there on the quarterback market? Andy Dalton? Like, have fun, I guess.
Well, we got a question coming in from the chat. Is from Make Reads, and he asks you specifically. Yeah. Seahawks looking at Baker. Should you be scared? You've watched in and out every Baker Mayfield snap there in Cleveland.
Again, I think Baker Mayfield is who he is. He is not Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to lead your team to a Super Bowl. I legit don't think that. I think with the right coaching staff and the game plan around him, we use the term game manager in a derogatory term. I think game manager is a fine word for what Baker is. If you're not trying to have Baker throw for 400 yards, he's a perfectly fine quarterback. It's when you try to make
have
Baker
a running game.
Bingo.
And you brought up Penny. So the question is, can Penny come back for kind of a second act here?
Seattle has been a little.
I think your
dicey.
argument is, who do you get, right? If it's not Baker, who's left out there? I'm even thinking backups. And do you move up in the draft? And we've discussed many times on the show already that the draft is probably the weak it's been in a long time for quarterbacks. Some of these teams are really starting to run out of options.
I mean, and you're looking at Seattle's got the 9th overall pick from Denver. Could they reach and get Malik Willis up there? Sure. I think it's probably
that would fit the Russell Wilson vibe, right?
Yeah. I mean, Malik Willis is the only one post combine who I look at and I go, this guy could be good. There is an option out there of Jordan Love is still around. And like, if you believe that Jordan Love has something in the tank,
I don't hate that.
Aaron Rodgers got 3-year contract. Like this, Jordan Love has been sitting for a long time behind him. Could you take a chance on him? Seattle does have a little bit of a checkered past with Green Bay quarterbacks. How you doing, Matt Flynn? What's going on, dog? How'd that work out? But your choices, I think right now, if you're Seattle, it's kind of Baker Mayfield, Jordan Love, Andy Dalton. For me, I'm taking Baker Mayfield because he's at least a proven commodity with a playoff win under his belt.
McDuggets is asking, what about Detroit? Detroit has a landing spot.
I mean, again, I don't know how much say Baker has as to where he goes. I know he doesn't have a no trade clause, but like,
you want to go to the NFC. If you're in the AFC, you want to go to the NFC. So I think Seattle is a good spot. Detroit ain't terrible. Somebody was even talking in the chat about it was Goat Khan talking about, hey, maybe New Orleans
Yeah, but they just brought back Jameis Winston. And let's point out, for all the people who are against Jameis Winston, he did go 5-2 last year before getting hurt and was great in all those games. Like, he looked really, really good for the Saints. So I know that Saints fans are like, ugh, Jameis Winston, but like, dog, you did pay $10 million for Taysom Hill, and that dude is not a quarterback. That dude is a pocket running back if I've ever seen one.
It's been an interesting, we call it the musical chairs of quarterback, the quarterback carousel that we've had. Would certain teams have made moves if they knew Baker? Like, do you like Baker over Wentz? I'll just go through them. Do you like Baker over Wentz?
Yes.
You like Baker over Winston?
Yes.
You like Baker over Matt Ryan?
No.
Okay, well that's
I give Matt Ryan a lot of credit for last year because that dude, the Falcons fought in a lot of games and were in games because Matt Ryan, and let's be clear, Matt Ryan's receiving core was Kyle Pitts and Russell Gage. Like, that dude had nobody to throw to.
Who's going to get some money somewhere?
Game. Yeah.
Russell
I really like Matt
money.
Ryan to the Colts. I think Ryan has something left in the tank, and he's going someplace with a great O-line and a running game in Jonathan Taylor, which is a running game that the Falcons haven't had in a long time. Like, I love that move for the Colts. And you get somebody who doesn't turn the ball over a lot. They already had to deal with the Carson Wentz thing, and you get Frank Reich coaching them. Dog, look out for the Colts, because that division also is bad. That division has both the Colts and has both the Texans and Jaguars in it. So congratulations, Colts, on your division win.
What does the chat think of some of these moves? We talk about Matt Ryan going to the Colts. Marcus Mariota, oh man, that's not a starter, It's just a 2-year deal, right? So look at that.
Here's what I'll say.
To the Commanders.
The Falcons, they've got to be they're in full rebuild at this point, right? They don't have Calvin Ridley all in next year. They're in full rebuild mode. So bring in Marcus Mariota as a bridge quarterback to sort of just be there and hold down the spot and wait for the deep quarterback draft next year. I don't hate it. It's Marcus Mariota. Like, it's Marcus Mariota.
Which one of these, let's just look at these 4 teams right here. Colts, Falcons, Commanders, whatever team that is, and Saints. Best chance to make a run?
Colts. It's without the doubt the Colts. Yeah. They've got a running game. They've got a top 2 running back. I'll put him top 2. I think it's him and Derrick Henry 1-2.
Wow.
You want to put Alvin Kamara up there? Cool. But that's my 1-2. I think
Kamara's a totally different tool. He's
a different thing.
And I don't mean that negatively. Sorry.
They've got a
Swiss Army knife.
He is a Swiss Army knife, and
I don't want to see the headlines, Nick. Yeah. Scott Cole calls Alvin Kamara a tool.
Clip it now. Scott, can we put it on the bottom? Scott Cole calls Alvin Kamara a tool. You've got a good receiving core. I think Michael Pittman is a really nice young receiver that can lead that receiving core. They probably need another weapon out there for him, but they've got a stellar defense, and they've got a bad division. Their competition is the Titans. Falcons are rebuilding. Commanders also are rebuilding. I don't really know what's going on in Washington. What's up, Dan Snyder? You're still an owner, huh?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
They're rebuilding everything, right? Branding.
And
they
Saints
need a new
good.
Stadium. They could use a new owner, to be honest. But
Saints don't look too bad, depending on what Michael Thomas goes on. But that Tom Brady guy came back, and that's got to be real annoying for Saints fans. They were all like, yeah, finally, we got, okay, sure.
We still never believed, and I think that's a great segue because that happened after we did our show last week, and we're here every Tuesday, 2 o'clock. We came on a little bit later today. Maybe Harris will join us a little more down the stream. We got a couple folks that are going to be joining us throughout the next couple weeks and months here on the broadcast.
Yeah.
Who knows what the show? Whoa, wait! Let me just ruin my whole life over here. Right, who knows what the show's going to be called or where it's going to go? But it's basically all about you, the chat.
Scott, get out of here! Yeah.
Hey, Walter didn't bark, so that's good. Tom Brady returns to Tampa Bay. I called him going to the 49ers. But he got up on social media, and I think his wife was like, hey, you being around kind of sucks. Can you go back and play football?
I was home for 2 weeks. It was like, I'll go. Thanks, guys. This is, I think, I find it ironic because Tom Brady did say, I'm not going to pull a Brett Favre. I'm not going to unretire. When I retire, I'm done. Oops on that one. Now, I will say, Scott, does this scream to you? Remember, he didn't announce he was retiring. It leaked out early, Everybody said, no, it's not happening. Then
Yeah.
Tom Brady put out the statement on Monday. Does this scream to you? Because it screams to me that Tom Brady was never retiring. Something got leaked out. He didn't want to like steer the ship too hard. So he went, yeah, I'm going to step away. And then after 2 weeks, he can come back clean. And it's not like ripping apart NFL media.
What do you think about this? Because I thought this was Peter brings it up in the chat.
Oh,
You had to know there was an extreme possibility he was coming back. I think it was more a possibility of him playing, didn't retire. That was the vibe I got the whole time.
boy, I don't know if there's any person in the world who's hoping that Tom Brady tears his ACL in offseason workouts than the guy who bought that touchdown ball.
What is that ball?
Technically his last one.
Yeah. What is that ball worth right now? It had to take, I don't even know. Does it go down to 50K, 25K, 5K?
I wonder, like, does it go down, or is there now this, like, it's like a misprinted, like, baseball card? Like, this is the football that was thought to be his last one. Like, is there any, like, for a novelty collector of, like, paying $100,000 for the football that was his last one until it wasn't his last one? The famous football. Like, I don't know. Don't pay $500,000 for memorabilia until they're 60. What once they're like really gone and there's no chance of them coming back, that's when you can pay off stuff.
It's an interesting comment right here. Let's call it here. Tom Brady going for Jerry Rice, Emmitt Smith territory. Now,
What does that mean?
2 of the 3 are GOATs.
And Emmitt Smith.
And then Emmitt Smith. Like,
Yeah.
Emmitt Smith is kind of in that LeBron James category for me. Just somebody that, starting to put is good. Great. Good running back. Just like LeBron is, a top player. I would never put Emmitt Smith in the top 5. Certainly LeBron's in the top 5 for basketball. But even Emmitt Smith, when you ask him, who's the best running back of all time, he'll tell you Walter Payton.
Walter Payton.
Yes, and that's the record that he broke. He was just I can't imagine Barry Sanders or Walter Payton behind a line like the Cowboys had.
You don't want to think about that, dog. It's just gonna make you
and by the
sad.
way, I think Jerry Rice in today's game would have even more yards, even more touchdowns than he had all the way back then.
Would you rather have Jerry Rice or Randy Moss?
Randy Moss.
Okay, just checking.
Even though I do think Jerry Rice was a better route runner.
Yeah.
The problem is Moss is just measurables and just game time performance. You saw when you put Tom Brady together with Randy Moss, it was GG. I mean, it was over.
Yeah. Listen. And here's what I am interested to see. So they just announced today, Leonard Fournette's coming back for the Bucs. That's a big get for Brady because I think Fournette might have had the best season for a running back last year that nobody talked about. Nobody talked about how
he brought that up. I'm not all about bringing squeaky wheel gets the the grease or whatever, but he was like, hey, feel like I was one of the best running backs last year and no one talked about it.
He had a monster 4-touchdown game. He had multiple multi-touchdown games. I know because I started him in daily fantasy a lot, and that dude raked in the points. You bring back Chris Godwin, you bring back Mike Evans. It's the gang is back together, save for Gronk. We'll see what happens with Gronk. Yeah. Question with Tampa was their defense. The question for Tampa is who fills that number 3 wide receiver role. Remember that team looked great with Antonio Brown in that number 3 receiver role. The second that Antonio Brown left that team, the offense didn't run quite as smoothly. Scotty Miller's not that guy. Do they bring in somebody else to fill that number 3 role? Who is that guy that can fill that gap? And can their defense continue to play at an elite level? Do they have the secondary to stand up to? They certainly play in a division that is favorable. Carolina and Atlanta both in kind of hard rebuilds. New Orleans is New Orleans, but I think New Orleans screams 8-win team. So would
they be your pick, assuming they get some of these free agents back, to win the division?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean the Panthers and Falcons are both 4-5 win teams, and I think the Saints scream 8 wins. Could Jameis Winston go bonkers? Yeah. If Jameis Winston plays like he did at the beginning of last year throughout the year, they certainly can be really good because they have the team to do it. But I just think they scream 8-9 wins. I think the Bucs can sweep that division or at least split with the Saints because I know they have trouble beating the Saints in New Orleans. and are sitting there 11, 12 wins at the end of the year. They're going to win that division. But then the question gets, how far can they go in the playoffs? Are they good enough?
Well, it's
to win
Super
the
Bowl,
playoffs?
right? I mean, Brady doesn't come back to make the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, he said the job's not finished. That means, hey, we didn't win the Super Bowl, right? I mean, when you've won 7, you know.
Yeah, and I still think they're second best in the NFC. I'm still going to put the Super Bowl champs ahead of them. The Rams haven't lost that many players, and they still got Matt Stafford back there, and they still got a lot of that Cooper Kupp guy turned into a top 5 wide receiver overnight. I'm not putting the Bucs ahead of them. Green Bay was there, and then how do you? Okay, I'm sorry, I have to talk about this. How do you convince Aaron Rodgers to come back and go, "Hey, Aaron, man, congratulations, welcome back to Green Bay. We're so glad to have you. You're gonna have a lot of fun throwing to your number 1 wide receiver, Alan Lazard." Whoa! What happened to Devontae?
What happened to him? He is with the Raiders. That is where he's at. And in his statement goodbye to all the fan faithful there in Green Bay, to his teammates and all these people that he mentioned, no Aaron Rodgers, the person that threw you like over 9,000 touchdown balls. I think it was like 400 and something.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Now I get, you're going to play with your college teammate, one of your best friends from Fresno State. But come on now. Even when I leave a job that I hate, that have treated me well, I'm at least sending an email saying thanks, even if I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, I mean, again, does it lend credence to the number of fans who have said that, man, Aaron Rodgers is kind of a dingus. Like, nobody really likes that guy. He comes off brash. He comes off very hostile. Is it possible that carried over to the locker room? Sure. Is it also possible that Devontae Adams it was a business to him? I never got the vibe that they were like best friends off the field. I always thought that they had a great connection on the field, but it was a business.
No one's friends with Aaron Rodgers on the field. I mean,
no,
he's a recluse anyway, right?
Right.
Like, we know he's already estranged from many people in his life. So, and that has nothing to do with football, but that's just that's where it's at, right?
And you do wonder with Devontae, how much of Aaron Rodgers' off seasons, the last 2 off seasons, will he be there? Will he not? What is he going to do? Is he just going to retire? Is he going to host Jeopardy? How much did that grind on him as the guy who's out there going, I'm trying to make a career. I want to go win Super Bowls. Like, you can't even tell me if you're going to be there? Like, dog, I thought we had something. I think that just screams that, like, listen, it's a business. These guys weren't the best of friends. They were good on-field teammates. And now Adams goes to Las Vegas, a team that needed something positive to happen in that AFC West that is now, please just let me watch that all year long. That division is amazing. Derek Carr,
I want to know from the chat who they got winning the AFC West. I mean, I would have to think about it for a moment.
I know who I have.
Okay, well, go ahead. Fire away.
LAC. It's the Chargers. Yeah. I think that Chargers team they did too much on defense. Again, Justin Herbert's really good. I think Keenan Allen's one of the more underrated receivers. I don't know why people don't list him in that top 8 range, but like, he is an absolute beast.
He's never gotten credit, right? And
they've got a guy in Austin
I'm even the one talking
Alvin
about Mike
Kamara.
Williams more than I'm talking about Allen.
Right. Clemson guy. It's a Clemson Mike Williams. And they got a guy in Austin Eckler who turned into the Alvin Kamara Swiss Army knife. That dude was a beast. That team is stellar. And then, oh, by the way, enjoy Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa on the line.
Hey, don't bring up that, man.
Enjoy J.C. Jackson and Derwin James in the secondary.
Hey, our guy Derwin.
I think the Chiefs are still really good. I think the Raiders are good. The Raiders' offense looks great. That defense, it's got Max Crosby.
John B in the chat says he's leaning toward Las Vegas. Wow. I do think that Hunter Renfrow now, and I'll put my Clemson bias aside, he could have a crazy season. Adams is going to be getting a lot of double teams, and for a guy that runs 5-yard routes, what can you do?
I mean, plus you got Darren Waller out there. Plus, if Josh Jacobs can play for more than 8 games a year, they got a really good running back. They do still have Alex Leatherwood as a starting offensive lineman, which is a detriment because that dude's awful. That dude is very bad. He was better once they moved him to guard. He should probably stay there. I just question that defense. They just very reliant on Max Crosby getting home, that D line doing stuff. I don't love their secondary. I don't love their linebacking core. Like, can they stop any of these teams? I don't know. But the Fresno State connection, Derek Carr to Devontae. By the way, as a Clemson fan, remember that winning touchdown national championship that Hunter Renfrow caught on the little flat route? That was offensive pass interference, right? That rub route? I'm just checking.
Hey, they had run that rub play many times. Wasn't called. Even Alabama ran that. I mean, everybody.
It's a rub route. It's just pass interference. It's fine, man.
That was a Deshaun Watson moment. 4-13. We come from a Madden world, and I'm not. Let's don't get real deep here, but.
Oh, you want to talk about the meta?
What's the team you're loading up with next year? You know what I mean? Like, I would probably load up with the Chargers more than I'd load up with the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, so much depends on X Factor abilities and all that stuff that they put in the game. The Chargers got really good late this year. I think people in regs were playing. It was a lot of Chargers and a lot of Packers. Packers lose it with Devontae Adams, so you're not going to use Green Bay anymore. I think you're probably looking. I think Chargers got to be the first team you load up with. That defense, that offense. I mean, they got everything. They are. Look, Cowboys every year.
Yeah. Who are the donkeys? McNugget says he's got the Chiefs in that division.
I think the Chiefs are. I mean, again, the Chiefs are the establishment pick. Especially now they have Juju. Like, that's an interesting piece for them. Yeah. You get Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju was always good in that second wide receiver role. He wasn't great as a one, but with Tyreek Hill on the other side taking away attention, I still think they need. Again, losing Honey Badger is a big deal. That defense, that secondary, was captained by Tyrann Mathieu and ran through Tyrann Mathieu. Not having him. And by the way, they also lost Charvarius Ward. I'm not sure they have any defense. They have the offense to put it up.
Team without Tyrann Mathieu.
Exactly. Exactly. Detroit, no bias at all. Yeah. Go Lions. Baby hands Goff. Let's go. And they're wide receivers. Can you name more than one wide receiver on the Detroit Lions? Go.
Is Calvin Johnson still with the team?
Yeah, he's still there. 81.
Herman Moore? Is he? What year is Herman Moore in up there? See, I'm trying to think of an obscure Detroit Lions wide receiver from years gone by.
I was literally sitting there. I was like, is Golden Tate? Golden Tate, is he still there? It's Amon-Ra St. Brown and me and you. Congratulations. Oh yeah, they signed DJ Chark. Congrats on getting the best wide receiver from the Jaguars. Like.
Well, the Jaguars are super overpaid, but they didn't make it onto this program. But
$17 million.
If you're out there in the chat, certainly, we always have our own topics we like to talk about. But if you got something you want to throw out there, don't ask us about the Cincinnati Reds middle relievers in spring training. But if you got something that's interesting for everybody else to discuss, certainly there's a lot of things to debate.
Although, Scott, you bring up the Cincinnati Reds. Don't forget that the 7th highest paid player on the Reds this year is Ken Griffey Jr. He's getting paid the 7th most on the Reds. That's amazing.
Hey, Bobby Bonilla's still getting paid too. So
forget Bobby Bonilla. We need to talk about Ken Griffey Jr.
Hey, you can't throw any shade at Ken Griffey. Let's step off the football for a moment. LeBron James moves into the second all-time scoring in the NBA, behind Kareem. But who is the best scorer of all time in the NBA? I'm going to be interesting to see what the chat thinks about this. Just straight up offense. Who is the best pure scorer of all time?
He passed. Was it Karl Malone? Was at 2.
That was a lot of pick and rolls.
Which is wild to think because I think people forget how good Malone was, and part of it's because he played in an era where Jordan was winning everything. And part of it was because he wasn't a flashy player. It was pick and roll with John Stockton and go hit layups. I think in terms of pure scorer and in terms of who can put the ball in the basket the most variety of ways, it's LeBron James. I think LeBron James is the most unstoppable build of a player. Possibly could get passed by a guy like Giannis. I think Giannis If Giannis starts hitting threes, GG's in the chat. Steph is very good. Steph also misses a lot of shots and takes a lot of shots. I like Steph a lot. But I think when you look at variety of who he can go against, LeBron can play against guards, forwards, and centers. He can score up close. He can hit threes now. I think he has developed into the best.
Still can't hit free throws, but sure. Keep
going. You know, I mean, listen, Shaq couldn't hit free throws either.
The question is if he would shoot 10% higher, right? What Jordan shot, 87% or something like that from the free throw line, 85. He's in the low 70s. How many more points would he had?
I mean, it is wild that in a 20-year career, the free throw is what hasn't developed yet, man. I haven't practiced them enough. But listen, I mean, he's number 2 all time. I think he will pass Kareem. I think he's going to end up the number 1.
The longevity and certainly not going to college, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you always got to bring that up.
I will say, how much do you think it has helped LeBron? I know we always talk about the Heat team, and we talk about the Cavs championship team, but he has played a not insignificant career on teams where he was the guy, and that was kind of it. His first 6 years in Cleveland, and you could argue right now with no AD, it's just him scoring. How much do you think that has helped him, and how much do you think it hurt Jordan being on a team with scorers like Pippen and Rodman who could put in 10 to 15 a night, and Kukoc off the bench and Kerr off the bench? Did that hurt Jordan's all-time scoring because he played on good teams?
I mean, Jordan still scored way more per season, per game, than LeBron ever will or has. I mean, LeBron's thought he had a chance to win his first scoring title, kind of, that seems to be probably going to Embiid or Giannis. If I had to pick my greatest scorer in the league right now, I think it's KD, like bar none. There's no one else in the league that can get his own shot more than KD. And that's all 3 levels. Down low, mid-range. There's not many people that even shoot in the mid-range nowadays. KD certainly does that. His stats would have been a lot higher, too, if he didn't chase some rings out there with the Warriors. I just never saw LeBron as a scorer. And maybe some of that was like, the way he kind of has made himself as sort of like a Magic Johnson kind of player, right? Where you never thought of Magic Johnson as a scorer, even he can score. Couple mentions of Harden out there. But for me, greatest scorer of all time, I still think it's Jordan. And he shot average from 3-point line for the era. MJ did. They want to compare him, but if you actually compare Jordan and LeBron shoots less than the average from 3-point compared to the rest of the league. Jordan at least shot the average. Jordan was a better free throw shooter, but I don't even care about that for scoring. But if you had someone to get you a bucket, right? Let's just do that. And we'll ask the chat as well. Final shot, someone to get you bucket. You're down by 1. Who you of all time? Who do you give the ball to?
I'm down by 1.
Down by 1. Shot clock off. You got plenty of time. Who you giving the ball to win in the history of the NBA?
It's Allen Houston. That dude was lasers from the corner for the Knicks. No. I mean, for me, it's Jordan because he's the most clutch player in the history of the game. If I'm down by 1 and the time is running down, Michael Jordan is the clutchest player we have ever seen. I think if I need a bucket, like scoreboards are off, you just need a bucket. Like, don't worry about time, don't worry about anything. Honestly, right now, it might be Giannis, because I think Giannis is that guy at his build. When he gets ahead of steam, I don't think he's stoppable. I don't think there's anybody standing in his way who's not named Shaquille O'Neal in his prime that can stop Giannis when he just lowers his head and goes, I'm going to score. I think he is the most unstoppable build out there. But in terms of like any sort of shot, it's Jordan. It's maybe Kobe. I mean, Kobe was clutch and could hit those mid-range jump shots. Robert Ory is as clutch of a player as there's ever played the game. So maybe it's Ray Allen for all I know. But I think it's without a doubt, in terms of clutchness, that's the part where you talk about the Jordan and LeBron debate. Jordan blows LeBron out of the water when it comes to clutch shot. Like, LeBron has a couple iconic clutch moments.
I go back to the free throw shooting because I think LeBron hasn't had the ball in his hands at the end of games. I think some of it because of that. Because he doesn't want to shoot free throws. Look what it did to Nick Anderson after he missed 4 straight free throws back in 94, 95 or whenever that was. I think
for the Magic. Oh my God.
Yeah, that hurt so bad. But you're thinking that, right? You stop attacking the basket because you're like, well, if I get fouled, can I get to the rim? I don't mind the saying of, well, all LeBron James does is dunk. Well, Kareem dunked and he shot hook shots, right? An unstoppable shot for Kareem. By the way, quick Kareem story. I was working an NBA 2K event and we had Kareem on there, and certainly he told us how good he was, which I thought was awesome. He's like, I shot 57% from the field. That's like one of the best scorers of all time. So he certainly wants to be remembered as one of the greats. But we were up on a stage, and it was like an all black stage, right? And the step was not marked, and he stepped off this thing. You know what I mean? Like if you step off something and you don't know there's a step, but imagine being over 7 feet, and it was like watching a tree.
Timber!
And the other thing is, here comes the jib, that's up there, and like it literally, like if you go back and watch the replay, like you see a glimpse of the top of Kareem's head as he goes around there. So I tell people, well, at least you didn't try to kill Kareem on your broadcast. But nevertheless, when it comes to scoring, I got LeBron way down there. I can name 20 people that I would give the ball to before I give the ball to LeBron James. Or if you had someone that said, go out there and get 50 tonight.
Yeah, I think that is where the Magic Johnson mentality for LeBron has hurt his scoring. Because it's not to be discounted that he averages 5 assists a game. Like, this is a guy who does pride himself on his or averages 7 assists a game. He prides himself on his passing, and I think that's where it's interesting. Is if I'm 1-on-1 and I need somebody to score, it's Jordan. I want Jordan 1-on-1 against anybody. If I'm playing 5-on-5. I might want the ball in LeBron's hands because he can create as well as anybody. And I think that's where LeBron's legacy is going to be interesting, is we are a points-driven league, but it's not to be his defense, and not to mention Jordan's defense, and his ability to pass the ball, I think should not be overlooked when you look at his legacy. But if it's 1-on-1, are you allowed to push off Byron Russell to score this final point? Let me ask that one. Is that legal? Because if you are, I'm taking Jordan.
Even Bob Costa said that Russell was going that way.
The push!
Hey, that's part of scoring. Rubbin's racing, pushing, scoring. I don't know.
World Gold says, I don't know about anyone else, but that John Morant buzzer beater from the start of the month is one of the best I've ever seen. Am I crazy for thinking that John Morant might be the best player in the NBA in 3 years? I think he's
in 3 years or now. It's crazy.
It's close now.
It's a crazy. If you take him off that team, they're terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they did maintain while he was hurt the first couple, dozen games of the season.
Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks.
They play well together, right?
They're nice players.
They play well together.
Yeah. In the same way that, if you took Devin Booker off the Suns, Cam Payne, Mikal Bridges, and Cam Johnson are all nice players with DeAndre Ayton, but they're not the same team. That's John Morant to the Grizzlies. It's not even close.
Well, joining us, speaking of NBA, joining us from NBA Parts Unknown. Well, now down in Florida.
Yes, sir.
Harris is in the house. Harris,
what's up?
Man, you missed some good topics today.
I'm sorry.
I want to regroup with you on Deshaun Watson before we get out of here. But greatest scorer of all time, LeBron James moves into number 2. But I don't even have him in my top 10. I'd give the ball to get 50, or I'd give the ball to score at the end of the game.
See, the difficult thing with LeBron is that, to me at least, he's the most. I think if you were to build what a basketball player is, LeBron is that guy. So for me, saying that he's not like one of the 5 best scorers ever is difficult because what can't he do as a scorer? He can score from the post, he can score from the mid range, he can score from the elbows, he can score from 3. Like he's actually continued to move deeper and deeper and deeper from the 3-point line the past couple of years. I would say he's the best scorer of all time. I think best pure scorer ever is still Larry Bird. I just don't think anybody will ever be able
I
to
don't hate that either. I would have him ahead of LeBron.
But I think if you're going to tell me who is the greatest like scorer of the basketball of all time, I'm going to go with Kevin Durant.
I had KD. I would go if
KD.
you're watching. I had KD. Currently, I still don't put him over Jordan because I think Jordan's mid-range game is just as good as KD's, maybe even better.
The difference is that KD is 7 foot. That's why
that's the problem,
I put him
right?
over
So how do you guard
Jordan.
him?
Like Jordan is like he's a big guy. He was 6'6", 6'7". The difference is that anybody that defends Kevin Durant, he can shoot over, which Jordan just couldn't do, despite his obvious efficiency numbers. There is no better offensive basketball player in terms of total skill set than Kevin Durant. He can do anything you want. He's still the best player in the league right now. But he won't MVP. He won't even win MVP this year because of.
They were having this argument. I think it was Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. The issue with Kevin Durant is just the mentality, right? Like he doesn't have a Jordan or Kobe mentality. Not that a lot of players ever did. But
you can see it now, though, man. I think when he hit that shot against LeBron in Game 5 in Cleveland to like really seal the finals, that to me is when we kind of saw that killer instinct. And then this year, man, on the Nets, I mean, look, they have nothing. If he and Kyrie are not on the floor, that team has absolutely nothing.
Oh, come on, Patty Mills.
He has been so cold-blooded this year. It has been so crazy to watch just him completely dominate teams. This Nets team, the fact that they're even in the play-in should be a testament to Kevin Durant's greatness. I mean, they are awful. They're so bad without him and Kyrie, and he has just carried them on his back. Kyrie has played 19 games this year. 19 games.
If we're going to get on a Kyrie kick.
And it sucks because he's
played for both of y'all's teams, Celtics and the Cavs.
Yeah.
Now with Brooklyn, but and he can get 50. There's no question that Kyrie can get 50.
I have a take for you, and this is it's not really my take. It's a take that Bill Simmons has said before that I've agreed with. Kyrie Irving is the best NBA player of all time under the height of 6'2". There's no better finisher. There's no better shooter. There's no better ball handler. There's no better passer. Nobody even comes close under the height of 6'2". Chris Paul is probably the closest in terms of accolades, but in terms of overall talent and like what they bring to the floor as a basketball table, nobody touches Kyrie. The problem is everything else.
Iverson?
I believe that Kyrie Irving is Allen Iverson 2.0. Like if you were to take Allen Iverson and who he was as a player and send him through the same middle school, high school, kind of college experience that Kyrie had, he would have been a very similar player. The difference between the two is that Kyrie is almost like 7 to 8% more efficient on his career from the field,
I'm picking Allen Iverson in a fight still.
I take Kyrie from a talent perspective. Oh, in a fight, yes. But from a talent perspective, dude, Kyrie, it sucks that everything's happened with him this year because this has been the best season of his career.
This not the way
he's amazing.
Prefers playing in the NBA? Right? Yeah, where he just wants to be the 8th seed. Like, does he really want to play? You know what I mean? Like,
I think he has like specific dudes that he wants to like really kill. Like the Nets Sixers game from a couple nights ago, right? Like he went at James Harden. Like he was like up on him. Like he really alpha dogged him a little bit. And it was really cool to watch. But like he doesn't always have that attitude because he has this mentality that he is like an artist on the basketball court. And he's just out there like delivering his art to the world. Like he's not one of those guys. But he's an amazing player. And I'll just say this guy, he's just a weirdo. And that's fine. There have been weirdos forever in sports. Dennis Rodman is a massive weirdo.
Be free.
Like some of the best players in the history of sports have been weirdos. He's just one in a long line of just kind of weird dudes who are also incredibly gifted athletically. It happens.
He's just one of the weirdest players across the planet.
He's just a weirdo. It's okay. Yeah, he's just a weirdo. It's all right. Like there are weirdos everywhere.
I'm curious. Like, do you think? Let's play in a fantasy world. New York mayor lifts the vaccine mandate so Kyrie can play every game in the playoffs. with Kyrie, with Kevin Durant, and with Ben Simmons, are the Nets the second best team in the East?
Third.
I have them second. I have Celtics 1 and then them.
Okay, good. As long as we're on the same page
hey.
as Celtics, I would say the Bucks. You're just not going to discount Giannis after the playoffs that he had. I'm just not going to do it. I think in a playoff series, he's still the player in the NBA that I'm most afraid of.
You're a big Celtics fan. Is that the one team you don't want to face in the postseason? Would be Milwaukee?
Giannis is the only player in the East I'm actually afraid of in terms of beating this team.
He can match up with KD.
I was talking to the best man at my wedding today, and he's also a big Celtics fan. And we've officially set our bar. The Boston Celtics are winning the NBA title this year. We've officially reached the point where we are just so convinced that the only team in the NBA that I believe right now is as good as the Celtics are the Suns. And I think the Suns are better. Yeah. I think the Suns are better because they're deeper. They go 10, 11 deep in terms of above average NBA players. I don't think there's a team in the East that can actually beat the Celtics 4 times in 7 games. I don't think there's a team that has the combination of offense to defense to get around their switch everything defense to cap the Jays enough to really take them down for a full 4 game stretch, except the Bucks, because there is just always this looming concept that Giannis is just going to just kill you. You never know when Giannis is just gonna be like, oh, I win. Here's 50 in the deciding game of the finals. Here's a 30 and 20 game in the playoffs. You never know when he's just gonna absolutely murder you. So I'm not afraid of the Sixers. Not really afraid of the Nets. I think the Heat are total pretenders.
They're a good defensive team. They got some good defensive pieces.
I don't know when the Heat became so dependent on Tyler Hero dropping 27 tonight, but that happened at some point, and I don't love it. I think the Celtics, I think that the Tatum Jaylen Brown combo might be the most underrated and not talked about duo in the league. I know everybody talks about Embiid and Harden. Everybody talks about all these other.
Those 2 guys are not chest pounders, right? I think that's a big part of it, right?
Tatum is, oh man, dude, that's what the cool part about Tatum this year is, Scott. I think you'd really appreciate this. He has been as an on-court leader, he has been so much better this year. This has been something that people have been talking about with him. He has been fiery. He has been competitive. He's been hitting threes and letting you know about it. He's been adding a lot of flair and fire to his game this year. Jalen
still needs to get more efficient, right? You'd like to see better efficiency from him.
And that's what has really spurned this run for the Celtics, is that he has gone from being, the start of the year, he couldn't hit anything. Over the past 30 games or so, he's shooting about 40% from 3, which is usually about where he does on pull-up threes. He's an amazing shooter. He's like a 6'10" Steph Curry. But the issue is that he can be very streaky. But when you get on these hot streaks where he is shooting like this and defending like this, he looks like a first-team All-NBA guy. This is who we thought that we were going to get out of him all year long. The issue is that he just started off so cold. The team was a mess. They sucked. But I want to know from you, Scott, because you're more of a historian than I. The Celtics started the year 17-19, their first 36 games. They were the 11th seed in the East. They were terrible, awful. Their next 36 games, they have gone 27-9. They have the best record in the NBA. They have the best net rating in the NBA, and they have the best defense in the NBA. What are
probably a turnaround that we've kind of never seen.
Has there ever been anything like this in NBA history that's been publicized, at least? Because I know that there have been win streaks from teams like the Warriors, the Heat, whatever, but nothing where it came after one of the worst stretches of
it. Almost reminds you of a baseball kind of season, right? Where a team's really
Nationals.
cold at the beginning and then
that's what
when I think back, and my NBA knowledge goes back to the 70s and a little bit into the 60s. It's NBA has always really been however you start is probably the way you're going to finish. Now you might move a couple seeds up and down, right? They might have worked their way into an 8 or 7 seed, but not making moves to the top, right?
I mean, they might end the season with the 1 seed. They have 10 games left in their 2.5 bag.
Bulls started really bad in that season where Scotty didn't get the surgery, right? In 97, 98.
Sure.
And they made a run, but not like this. Not something that you didn't expect, right? Where you kind of just, to be honest, I kind of just wrote them off, right? At one point, the Bulls were leading the East. So that tells you what kind of musical chairs that we've seen in the standings. But certainly the only question I have for Boston is how they're going to perform in the postseason, right? Just
Yeah.
compared to some of these teams like Milwaukee that once you win a championship, and many players have said this, until you've won a championship, you don't know what it takes to win a championship.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting about the East this year and why I kind of like the Celtics team versus everyone else is that they have a really rare amount of continuity on this roster that not a lot of teams in the East have. Like if you kind of look at the Celtics team in a broad function, right? Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum have played together their whole careers. Marcus Smart has played with them their whole careers as well. So has Robert Williams. Now you add Al Horford back into the mix, who's been with the team.
I think he's key. I think he's one of the huge X
amazing
factors.
this year. I can't believe that 36-year-old Al Horford is playing this way. Like it is, I don't understand it. You also have Grant Williams, who's been on the team for 3 years and is very close friends with everyone else. Pritchard for a couple years too. Derek Wright played with them on Team USA with Ime Udoka. Like there's so much continuity on this roster that you don't expect. And you look at the other teams in the East, it's like, all right, this Heat team has been there before, but now you have Kyle Lowry and more shooters off the bench that they, haven't played in the playoffs with. The Bucks have the continuity for sure. The Sixers have no continuity whatsoever.
They have Joel Embiid.
The Bulls have no continuity whatsoever. The Nets have no continuity whatsoever. So you have a lot of teams with very high pedigrees and very good players, but a lot of teams in the East this year have gone through these stretches where their stars have missed 30 games, 40 games, like big stretches. Even the Heat have dealt with this, with Butler missing a lot of time. Lowry's been missing time. Might just be the old man, don't need the regular season game minute thing. But the Celtics have a unprecedented amount of continuity for a team heading into the playoffs like this. And again, as a Celtics fan, obviously I come off incredibly biased, but this is the team that was promised. Like, this is the exact team that when they drafted Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum back-to-back, that every single Celtics fan on every single message board was like, damn, if these two can turn into two of the best two-way players in the planet, you put a great defensive point guard that can shoot the ball a little bit next to him and a couple of good shooters and defenders around him, what could they be? And what they can be is arguably the best duo in the NBA. They can be the best defensive duo in the NBA as well. And then when Tatum turns on the shot making and Jaylen gets his finishing up to the standard where it's been in his usual past, they become one of the best teams that we have seen in the NBA the past 5 years. Like,
where do you put them in the West?
Doesn't happen,
right? Because they're going to face somebody from the West.
They kicked the crap out of the Warriors the other night, even when Steph was in. Like,
Warriors are pretty decimated.
I mean, they're two.
Yeah, the Warriors are good. They beat the Grizz already. The Grizz Celtics finals would be amazing. I mean, talk about like a basketball like party. That would be amazing. Ja Morant, Jason Tatum, Jaren Jackson Jr. versus Rob Williams, like two of the top 3 shot blockers in the NBA. That'd be awesome. I think the only team that really scares me in the West is Phoenix, and they are so good.
Yeah,
I don't know how much Suns you guys have been watching.
Nick is in Phoenix.
I live in Phoenix.
So.
What's the incredible part about the Suns this year to me? Chris Paul goes out.
Yep.
We've been asking for years, like, okay, Devin Booker, like, what do you have? If you watch Suns games now, the man is putting up like 30 and 10 a night. Like, his playmaking is so impressive as a guy who we all look at as like, oh, he's just a scorer, like whatever. He's not like, he is a guard. He is an amazing NBA player. His defense has also come so far. I mean, he came into the NBA. He couldn't defend anybody. He is now a legitimate, like, all-around all-NBA player. And I never would have expected it. But the way that Monty Williams has coached him up, along with guys like Cam Johnson, to round out their games, the fundamental side of basketball, and add to their already ridiculous athleticism, I mean, it's beautiful. Like, they play such a beautiful brand of basketball. I love watching Devin Booker this year. He has to be third-team All-NBA.
Yeah, I would love Grizz Celtics, but I think Sun Celtics is basketball at its purest. That's what I would love to see. Like that's a 7-gamer to me.
Suns play Suns ball. Like they play the exact same brand of quick touch basketball. It's the same thing.
I mean, it's interesting. It is. I mean, and obviously for the Suns, it is dependent on the health of Chris Paul. If Chris Paul can come back, that team runs differently with Paul at the point, what he can do. I think the thing that fascinates me about the Suns is just the depth is wild to me. I mean, you've got, basically 3 to 4 guys that can handle the ball with Booker and Paul, and Cam Payne can really, really run the point well. But I think the underrated part, and I think that's where the Celtics and the Suns are very interesting, is you look at the depth that they have, especially the 4 and 5. JaVale McGee is having quietly a great season as a backup center that can give Ayton that spell. Like he's just a problem to deal with at 7 feet in the middle. Like he is a giant tiki statue.
He's won 2 titles, dude. Like he knows how to win. Like he's a good player. This is the thing. At the end of the day, the playoffs and winning the finals comes down to who has the most above average NBA players, right? Like that's all the rosters cut down to. You know, they cut down to 8 guys, maybe a 9-man rotation at the most. How good are those 9 guys versus everybody else?
Yeah.
The Suns and the Celtics right now, they're 9-man rotations. There's not a weakness in the bunch.
They're both very deep teams, and I think that's what we're finding is championship pedigree. Not trying to get 3 Hall of Famers on a team.
Nah.
Hey,
you might have 3 Hall of Famers on the Celtics team right now. We'll see how Jalen and Jason go. And I'm just saying this right now. If Marcus Smart, like he's 28, right? He's 28 right now.
Yeah.
If he spends the next 3 to 4 years being this guy, like 13-8 with 3 steals a game, maybe he gets a DPOY in the next 3 to 4 years because it's kind of ridiculous that a guard has it once as Gary Payton. But I'm telling you, man, I've never seen Marcus Smart play like this. I can't believe it. Who is this man? Who possessed him and turned him? Like 8 assists a game for Marcus Smart. Like he could always pass a little bit. Like he can do the flashy pass because he's a great athlete. But like even at Oklahoma State, he never distributed like this. He never looked like this.
He's looked really good. Chat, what do you think? Who do you got in the finals of the NBA? We're going to switch back to some Deshaun Watson talk here soon. You know, remember, Nick, a couple weeks ago, I said Milwaukee and Golden State. Now, it's okay in the East, but the West starting to look like a stretch. Are you changing yours?
I still think the West runs through Phoenix. I think assuming Chris Paul comes, even without Chris Paul, they've played really well without Chris Paul. I think with Chris Paul back to the best team in the West, it's going to run through it. I think in the East, I listen, the way that Boston has played the last 15 games, they're 9-1 in their last 10. They're getting hot at the right time. I think it's Boston. I don't love the Heat's roster. I don't know what happened with Bam. I feel like Bam has gone from a great player to, he's good. I like Bam. He's cool, but I don't think he's a guy to build around. Our big question was, how would the Sixers look with Harden and Embiid, that high pick and roll? Would that put them over the top? And I think what we have seen is it's all right. Like it's cool.
The problem is everybody else in that team is so bad.
The problem is they need
bad.
That team needs Tyrese Maxey to score 20 a night, and he can't do it. And that's the problem.
Dude, they take Joel Embiid out and they replace him with 34-year-old DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan gets 20 plus minutes a game.
Yeah.
He is not good. Like that's what was so crazy about that trade is that like Andre Drummond was like a really good backup center for them. Like Joel Embiid would go out, Drummond would come in, and he would do basically the same thing for 5 to 8 minutes at a time, and it worked wonderfully. Now, it's like Isaiah Joe, DeAndre Jordan.
Don't forget the fact that when they made that trade, I heard multiple, and I know some of you were out there. Multiple Sixers fans said the phrase, "Thank God they didn't trade Matisse Thybulle." That guy's awful. That guy is literally awful.
He's a special defensive player, but the problem is that if you have him and Embiid out there, right, you probably think to yourself, okay, I can have James Harden out there. I can have Tyrese Maxey out there. I can have Tobias Harris out there. 3 guys who aren't necessarily good defenders. The problem is that a lot of the teams in the East are like hyper passing teams. Like you saw in that Raptors Sixers game as you guys wanted. Like that Raptors team, they move the ball. Like they love getting out of people's hands, get the ball to Scotty Barnes, get it to OG, get it to, their long shooters, Chris Boucher, the whole thing. The Sixers couldn't keep up with them. They can't keep up with the fast transition game, the fast passing game. So sure, Thybulle is a one-on-one defender, is outstanding. And he's a great off-ball defender too. The problem is that the rest of the team is so easy to pick apart defensively. Like you just ISO up James Harden. Do that 8 times and you're probably going to get 20 points out of it. He's not stopping anybody. Like it's a great offensive team and concept. But the problem remains is that as much as I love James Harden, he's just not the effort guy. Sure, he's going to score 42 against the Hornets, But is he going to show up in a huge playoff series, like in a big game 6? Like, he never has. He
hasn't had a chance to.
Never has.
That's for sure. They haven't got to that point.
I don't know.
Before we get out of here, Harris, I wanted to give you an opportunity. Certainly, the biggest discussion is this Deshaun Watson. I'm a Clemson guy. Nick is a Browns guy. I mean, we gave our thoughts at the top, but I thought maybe you have like an sort of unbiased, untouched opinion here of this is just ludicrous, right?
I'll just say this. Deshaun Watson is the ultimate case in you never truly know people. You just don't. Like, it doesn't matter what they put out in the public. Like, again, these are all just accusations. We've gone over this so many times.
22.
It's like,
I go back to that. 22.
I'm sorry, man. Like, if somebody came up to you and said that Harris Rubenstein punched 22 people in the face, you'd probably assume that I really like punching people in the face. And like, again, I've never punched 22 people in the face, but like, it's just
21, not 22.
21, not even 22. Like, to me, look, he's going to get some sort of suspension levied from the NFL. There's no shot that they do not. It would go against everything that they've done the past decade since the Ray Rice case to reaffirm their commitment to women and supporting women in sports. A suspension has to happen. But giving somebody with that kind of lawsuits around him that much guaranteed money, basically telling him, hey, it doesn't matter what you're accused of, you're fine just because of your ability to play football. To me, it just shows a genuine... It's kind of gross. Like,
they made this move for like 2024, right? Even with the $1 million next year, and then everything else backloaded on the end. They know they probably don't have him for this next year, at least for half the season.
I get he's not going to jail, man. I get that in this country we operate under innocent until proven guilty. But sometimes your moral compass, your moral compass sometimes just needs to lead you to, hey, this guy was accused of sexually assaulting 22 women, sexually assaulting and harassing. At some point, it's beyond the benefit of the doubt, and you just have to have your moral compass be like, all right, what do I think about this? And honestly, I don't know how anyone could land on anything else other than like he's probably a creep, and maybe we shouldn't give him $240 million. Like, it just feels kind of gross. Like, it just feels icky. And I feel bad for Browns
fans. I thought 150 for Rodgers was crazy.
And again, we were talking about like great sports weirdos. Aaron Rodgers is a weirdo. He's not a bad person. He's just a weirdo.
Reclusive. We talked about that earlier. He's
there's a level here that Deshaun Watson might be like potentially one of the worst people to have ever picked up in NFL football. And I feel bad for Browns fans because like I have a lot of Browns fans. You know, I grew up in Maryland. Like we're pretty close to Cleveland. They love this roster. They love how it's been built. It's been rebuilt. It's the coaching staff, the front office, like everything has been perfect. And then they choose to hitch the wagon to Deshaun Watson with 22. Like it's just, I feel really bad for Browns fans not wanting this to have happened. And that to me, because now they have to root for this. Now they have to be conflicted about rooting for this forever. They finally got a good team, and this is what they've been given. Like, it's awful. It sucks so hard. I can't believe, like, if the New England Patriots announced that this is what they were doing, I would cry. I wouldn't know what to do. I love this football team, and you've just done this? Oh, I would have no idea what to do. I feel awful. It's so sad.
By the way, Scott, one quarterback we didn't talk about in our carousel of available that's still out there, who I thought the Browns were for sure getting, is Jimmy Garoppolo is still out there. Jimmy Garoppolo.
And Baker.
Baker.
Yeah, we talked about Baker to maybe Seattle.
I think Baker's probably going to Seattle. But if you're a team, I mean, I don't love Carolina's roster, but if you're looking for a guy to sort of game manage your way with Christian McCaffrey, James Garoppolo's
a big
winner.
improvement.
Are we 100% sure that the Niners are trading Jimmy Garoppolo?
No, because there's psychos out there. Like they change their mind every 2 minutes. Steve Young might be coming back. Who knows?
I know that Jimmy Garoppolo obviously wasn't great against the Rams defense last year, but like I thought Jimmy G was pretty good last year. And it's not a pass-first offense anyway. They're a run-first offense. They've been doing the same. Kyle Shanahan's been running the same offense for a decade. Like,
that's why I wanted him in Cleveland. It's hand the ball to Nick Chubb. Throw it 15 times a game. Like, don't turn the ball over.
I mean, look, I did not watch a second of Trey Lance when he was in college. Apparently not a lot of other people did. I can only go off what I saw from him in the NFL. And, man, like, he doesn't look ready to start yet.
No.
Same with Jordan
He doesn't look ready yet.
Yeah.
But maybe he will eventually.
I would take Love over Lance from what I've seen so far.
I would too.
It's nuts to me. Like I'm a Jimmy G guy. Like I love the quick release. I love the smile. Like I love the the minor.
He's very pretty.
He's a good-looking dude. He's not a great quarterback. He's probably league average to slightly below, but you know, their roster's so good. I just don't understand like wanting to give the reins over to Trey Lance now and like maybe sacrifice a real title contending season. The NFC is wide open. Devontae Adams is gone. The NFC North is trash. The NFC East is also trash. The NFC West is going to be fun.
And here comes every Cowboy fan in the chat.
Yeah. And then the NFC South is, you know, it's Tom, right? Like, so I don't know.
Hey, Scott. By the way, as a connoisseur of commentary, quick thoughts on Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit for Thursday Night Football.
Ooh. Oh man, painful.
Oh boy, that's good, huh?
I don't like Kirk. That's a weird one.
We'll see, right? I mean, you got two consummate pros, right, working with each other. It's just, I don't know. Herbstreit's worked with a lot of people, right, and so has Michael. So, I think it'll be weird, but I'm okay with it.
What are you going to be more interested to listen to? Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit on Thursday Night Football, or Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on Monday Night Football?
Monday night.
Oh,
I hate Troy Aikman.
Why?
I hate Troy Aikman.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it really is, though? I think my issue with Kirk Herbstreit is that over the past couple of years, it just seems like he hates fun. He hates fun.
All right.
And it really feels like whenever there's like a really fun player that he's watching, he just kind of like nitpicks them because they aren't like fundamental guys. Like you can tell who Kirk Herbstreit likes, right? Like I just hope he adapts to the fun of the NFL. Like we don't need him to come off as like some sourpuss. Like come on, like have some fun with it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, right?
It's Thursday Night Football. It's gonna be chaos.
I think it'll be an interesting transition, to say the least. Final question coming in from the chat, and we actually do all love European football. Ronaldo or Messi? I don't think this draws comparisons to Jordan, LeBron. I don't, because Ronaldo is just so skilled, as is Messi. But I mean, I think Messi's Jordan, right? I don't know who Ronaldo is.
I'm the other way around.
You're the other way around. So you like
size and athleticism.
Maybe I'm going off of
skill. Over the course of time, you can see it right now, man. Like Messi's body has been falling apart the past couple years. He's not the same player anymore. Yeah, you have Ronaldo who just keeps on scoring, keeps on doing his thing. Sure, his role is different now, but like Ronaldo is the greatest athlete to ever play soccer. He's probably one of the 5 greatest athletes to ever play sports in terms of just overall athleticism and ability. I don't know how anybody comes close to him in soccer, at least as a forward. Obviously, goalie and defense require different athletic traits, but
I don't think Ronaldo and Messi is Jordan, LeBron. I think Ronaldo and Messi is like Crosby and Ovechkin. Like they're at the same time. They're sort of in the same area. Like they're playing the same division. They're playing the same league. Like they're always going to have comparisons. I'm not a Ronaldo fan as a
person,
dude. Yeah, like as a homie.
No
I think he's not the greatest.
I like early CR7. He made some people look stupid.
Yeah.
Messi.
Like I certainly like Messi more than Ronaldo as a person, but I think as a player, especially what he's been able to do. And by the way, on a bad Man United team, that team is not good. That team is falling apart. He is single-handedly holding them up.
We're alive. 4th seed. Let's go.
You never walk alone.
The Europa League Man United team. I think what he's been able to do this year, and that hat trick he had a week ago was absolutely wild. I mean, the 3rd goal was an absolute strike, and I think he is continuing to show that I think he's going to be a great player for a couple more years at least. He's not slowing down.
I mean, Ronaldo might be Brady. You know, just someone that's like timeless.
Goes and wins.
Yeah, I mean, but I would say Messi's been more successful, right?
I'm more of a Robert Lewandowski fan.
Says something about soccer, so like because it's so much different than basketball in the way of like athleticism per position. Like you can't compare what Ronaldo brings to the table with like Emmanuel Neuer, right? Like it's just like Neuer is a 6'5" lion who can like reach every single part of the goal with his incredible radius. Like I don't think Ronaldo is athletic like that.
It's like saying compare Barry Sanders and Lawrence Taylor.
It's 2 completely different body types.
Compare Wayne Gretzky and Dominic Hasek. Good luck. Have fun.
But by the way, you mentioned Alexander Ovechkin. I'm not like the biggest hockey fan. I love Ovi.
Yeah,
he is putting together one of the all-time great old guy skill seasons. Like his athleticism and speed are still are pretty much gone, but he's just so much better than everybody else at just knowing how to play hockey. Like it's Yager. Like Yager's like 53 years old and still scoring like 30 goals a year in Russia. Like that's exactly what Ovi's doing. He's just so old. He just knows how to score. He's like 30 goals this year or something nuts.
Last week we went to the Knights Panthers game in Vegas, and the Panthers have 40-year-old Joe Thornton on the team. And watching Joe Thornton go out there like a confused old man, skate around for 32 seconds, then leave the ice was probably the joy of my entire game. Because every time it was just the fourth line's out there, and he just sort of wanders around. He like maybe tips a puck. And he's like, "All right, back to the bench side. Go see you," with his giant gray beard at this point. Absolutely hilarious.
Hey, Gordie Howe played a long time, but the difference is I think he was still made an impact. So
I don't know why it's not coming through, but Pack Addict in my chat said, "I think my Panthers should give up a second next year for Baker. Baker has to be better than Sam Darnold or Cam Newton." Yes.
Yeah, he also said out there he wasn't high on Justin Fields. Lance or Jordan might not be ready to lead a team.
I love Justin Fields. I'm all in. I wanted the pass to get him. I'm all in on Fields. I think he is exactly what you need in a modern quarterback.
I think Fields is all right.
I like Justin Fields a lot. That guy's so good.
There's too much Ohio State in this.
I don't even like Ohio State. I don't know how we're gonna do. You want to do an Urban Meyer topic?
No. Hey,
look at the time.
I'm getting pretty tired, guys. Let's wrap this thing up.
I got to do some.
Who's that 99 guy on the Rams? Is he any good?
Well, it's been a blast. We'll have to do more of this. We're here every Tuesday at 2. Hopefully, we'll get Harris's channel plugged in next time.
Yeah.
He's on the Strum, and he can bring in his wild group of followers as well. I'm sure they got a lot to say. Any final thoughts coming into the opening week? Anything you're looking forward to coming up in sports, Harris?
Man, I cannot wait for the Eastern Conference playoffs. I think this is going to be like some legendary stuff. Like the first round matchups that we could end up with the Celtics versus this KD Kyrie Nets team. We could have the Sixers versus the Bulls at full health for both teams. That was going to be incredible. The Bucks taking on that cool upstart Cavs team. We get Giannis versus Giannis 2.0 and Evan Mobley. Like, there's so many amazing matchups that we're going to get in the East. And you know who's not going to be involved? The Atlanta Hawks, because they were not actually that good last year. They just got hot, and they are not good. So pumped that they came back to earth, because, God, that team was so frustrating.
They could have took Luka, right? Am I still dreaming?
They traded Luka for Trae Young. And credit, Trae Young is a very good player, but it's hard to win in the NBA when your best player is the worst defensive player in the league, and you don't have Giannis. Like, if you don't have Giannis, if you don't have like a Giannis covering up for him, you're just not. They have Clint Capella, not exactly Giannis.
No, not even close. Nick, what are you looking forward to in sports this week?
I'm looking forward to Thursday night, Sweet 16 action. I really love the lineup for Thursday because you've got, I think, 3 of the best, maybe 4 of the best big men in action. You got Christian Coloco on Arizona. You got Hunter Dickinson in Michigan taking on Villanova. And then, of course, you got the two-headed monster in Gonzaga with Chet Holmgren and Timmy going up against Arkansas. I think it's interesting when we've reached a point in the NBA with positionless basketball and so many players being able to play all over the floor that the true 5 is alive in college basketball. And I'm excited to see, will the madness continue? Are we going to see some of these double-digit seeds and these 8 seeds start to fall off now that they're playing great competition? Will our Final Fours be alive? My national champion's still alive. I got Arizona winning it all. They're still alive. I also had Murray State in the Elite 8, so thanks a lot for losing to St. Mary's.
Hey, can they get it done? I mean, who's the Cinderella? I mean, I know it's St. Pete's, but can they keep rocking?
Is anybody else staring at that North Carolina team wondering what's going on there? And how about the Duke Magic with Mike Krzyzewski's last year?
They get beat by 20 at some point along the way. I just got a feeling. I mean,
right,
they showed some
Clemson.
championship DNA late, the last game out for Duke, but who knows, right? Looking at this bracket, we're all busted. I know you got Zona out there still. Who was your champion, Harris?
Oh, it's difficult. I've been kind of on the Gonzaga train all year because I love Chet, man. People are so like in and out on Chet. I think he's awesome. He doesn't. He is the most like he doesn't look like a basketball player at all. And then you see him do like the craziest stuff I've ever seen somebody at his height do. Like it is crazy. Like he'll just be like dribbling, looks like he doesn't care, and then he'll just hit you with like jab step spin dunk on your head, and then he'll go down and block a shot off the backboard in your face. Like he's such a cool player. I love Gonzaga. I think the way that this tournament has gone has really favored them, especially because Duke's defense really hasn't materialized. I think the way they were hoping for with all their length and talent in the front court. I like Arizona though, especially if I forget the guy's name, Mathurin. Yeah, if he keeps playing like this, it'll be good. But we'll see. Watch out for Wisconsin too. Johnny Davis gets hot.
They somehow get it done. They somehow get it done. We know they're physical during the game and after the game up there in Wisconsin. So we'll have to keep an eye on them. Appreciate the time, gentlemen. We'll do it again next Tuesday, 2:00. We might have a little Jeffrey Eisenband joining as well as we. Hey, if we go play golf, I was about to say a foursome. I like Jeff's chances.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't know.
Let's talk a little bit about the WGC match play coming up. Who do you got coming out of that? No? All right, cool.
Golf is as close to us talking NASCAR. Goodbye, all viewers.
I was told that John Rahm is going to win everything in golf this year.
All right, cool. Big Spaniard. Go, Spain. Go.
John Rahm.
All right, it's been a good time. We will see you next time here on the show.